What if I told you that you can 10x your life by doing two really basic things? After some serious reflection on what got me to the point where I'm at in my life, where I've secured several tech internships and several paying research jobs at the age of 20, compared to many of my peers, I have surpassed them by orders of magnitude. So I'm not going to waste your time. The two basic actions that I took that landed me where I am today are quitting consumption and complacency, and by starting to build, whether that's building discipline, building financial knowledge, or building valuable skills. These two things sound so obvious. I mean, how many times have you heard them before? But another question worth considering is, how many times have you brushed these pieces of advice off? Because it's usually the most obvious things that require saying. It's usually the cliche things that end up having the most real-world applicability. So in this video, I want to tell you a few stories from my life about these topics. And by the end of the video, you'll be able to understand how a mediocre and regular person such as myself was able to eclipse most of my peers despite not being the smartest guy in the room. So let's start with quitting consumption. I think the best place to start is social media because it pervades everybody's life. So let me tell you about something that I've done that I know not many people have done or are willing to do, but I know people who have done it and it's changed their lives. And it is quitting social media. And in fact, I quit social media when I turned 19 years old. Everything except for YouTube. That means Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, all of it. All that toxicity gone out of my life. And I talked about this in a previous video, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it because this truly changed my life. I went from mindlessly consuming on my phone, scrolling and scrolling for hours, wasting 4, 5, 6 hours of my day, valuable hours of my youth. And I cut all of that away, opening up 4, 5, 6, like I said, hours a day, every single day. Think about that. How many hours a week do you reclaim from your life when you delete those apps that suck all of the enjoyment away from you? Not only are you eliminating these dopamine black holes, you're also gaining back the ability to rebuild your attention span, to be able to focus on things for more than 2 minutes. I mean, I literally know a guy that I sat next to in one of my classes, and he was on Reddit scrolling almost all the time. And whenever he'd put his phone down, I counted, it only took 45 seconds for him to pull his phone back up and hop back onto Reddit. He took nothing away from those classes. He had no attention span. And that's scary. I mean, you're in the most opportune point of your life when you're 20, 21, 22. Why would you actively disable yourself and cripple yourself by engaging in these kinds of activities? And one last thing I'll say on this is, your mind is the only thing that can sharpen with use. It's the only thing that dulls with disuse. And I think social media, mindlessly scrolling, and ruining your attention span perfectly encapsulates that. And so the next area I want to also get into is substance abuse. And I'm not just talking about drugs or smoking or anything, because I feel like that's fairly common sense. If you're doing drugs or smoking, you are actively ruining your life. But I mainly want to touch on alcohol because I see this problem has continued into Gen Z more than a lot of people like to admit. There is someone I know who is a school teacher. They're 21 years old. They just finished university and they drink on a daily basis. They look identical to their 55-year-old mother. They have aged 30 years by drinking every single day. They look terrible. And that is by such a simple action of drinking alcohol. And for what purpose? It's the same thing as social media. You are actively debilitating yourself by numbing yourself when you're in the prime of your life, when your brain is the sharpest it will ever be, when you have the most creative potential and the greatest ability to think of innovative things, the most energy you'll ever have in your whole life. And some people would rather drink that away. And honestly, I would say, to a lesser extent, but it's still relevant, the same goes for coffee and caffeine. I am the only person I know who doesn't drink coffee. And whenever I tell anybody that, they act shocked. They could not imagine not drinking coffee on a daily basis. They wonder how I'm able to get through the day. And honestly, I've come to the conclusion that drinking caffeine, just like social media ruins your dopamine baseline, drinking caffeine ruins your energy baseline. I am able to get through 16-hour days every single day without drinking an ounce of caffeine. That is because I have not ruined my baseline like some other people. I mean, I know this guy who's literally ruined his kidneys at 20 years old from over consuming caffeine, whether that's drinks Monster or Red Bull or shots of caffeine. His health is in serious jeopardy now, and it's all because of the slippery slope you have when your baseline starts to go down. And so honestly, if you think that applies to your life, then you really need to consider the value of your baseline to not let this continue to go on. You need to reclaim that balance in your life, and it can only come from not consuming. And so switching gears a little bit, I also want to talk a little bit about love. I mean, I chased love, I chased girlfriends for years. I was always worried that my value was tied to having a relationship with somebody. And by being alone and by seeing all my friends having relationships except for myself, I felt that I was not as valuable of a person. My life was going to be unfulfilled until I could find somebody. So I dedicated so much energy, so many hours of my life to pursuing that, to pursuing people who weren't even interested in me. I mean, just to share how much of a problem this was in my life, I was rejected 12 times in a row over 4 years. 12 times, 12 different people. I tried dating in work, and that went terribly. Rumors spread around, and I had to leave my job. That hurt my career in the early days. I tried to date in high school, and rumors spread again. That hurt my social life and my networking ability. I tried to date in university, and that made classes awkward when I constantly got rejected. And I tried to date on dating apps, and I always found that I was wasting dozens of hours every single week chasing people who couldn't give a damn about me. Those are hours that I could have spent building something, but instead I pissed it all away, and now it was for nothing. So what I've decided, and what you need to realize as well, is value is feeling happy with yourself and believing that you have value doesn't come from your relationship. It comes from what you can actually do. It comes from your projects. It comes from your experiences, and it comes from your competencies, not from others. I also want to talk about complacency, because although complacency isn't necessarily consumption, I believe it can tear your life down in terrible ways. So there are several people I've met in university who have forgone looking for internships. They never attend hackathons. They don't tough out the networking events, and they don't even bother doing personal coding projects. I mean, come on. These people have no initiative. And I want to share a very interesting thing. I'm the only one out of those people who actually has an internship, who has ever had an internship out of those people. So just think about that. Life isn't going to hand you things. A lot of people believe that things will just work out, but I promise you, they don't just work out. You need to work your ass off to get the things that you think you deserve, because you only deserve it after you've put in the effort. And this also extends to thinking and not doing. I mean, you probably know someone in your friend group, or maybe it's your coworker, who always says that they have a business idea in the works. They're always planning, always scheming. They say they're gonna have this up and running soon. But when you ask them how it's going and what the specific details are, they always say they're still mapping it out. They're still figuring it out. No action. I know a guy like that. He has a stagnant life. And I think it's so sad that he's wasted the past 2 years of his life in this cycle of thinking and not doing. So what I've personally done is actually start. Instead of planning, I've actually started building. I can figure out the plan as I go, but the most important thing is just to start. It doesn't matter if you feel ready, you just need to start. I haven't told my friends, I haven't told my family. Nobody knows. There's no quick dopamine hits from sharing this and thinking that I've already succeeded even though I haven't materialized this business. There's none of that. I'm building this every single day, constantly committing new code to my software product. And eventually, in a few months, maybe a few years, I will have this ready to launch. And the people who said they're in the planning phases, I guarantee will still not have their product out. But I will have it out. So that's something that I've also done to differentiate myself, and it's completely changed my life. And so I quickly want to get to some other ones that I think are very important. And the first is tearing others down and not building yourself up. So there's this guy who I've shared multiple classes with at university, and we usually sit next to each other. And whenever the professor would answer some fairly obvious question from some students, I would always hear him silently mock or insult those students under his breath. I mean, who does that? This guy has never worked a job in his life. He has no projects in his GitHub. He has very few friends. He is chronically online, and he doesn't go to the gym. I may judge people, sure, who doesn't? But seriously, saying it out loud, not keeping your mouth shut, who does that? Instead of wallowing in your own inaction and your poor lifestyle and tearing others down to make yourself feel better, you need to take active steps to fix yourself, to make your life better. to raise yourself to that same level, because all of the successful people that I know in my life don't tear others down. In fact, people who are below them, they just ignore. It's only the people below that have anything to say. And the final point I want to make is gambling. I mean, this is a serious problem, and I have no idea how this even got started with Gen Z, but some people in my classes are literally gambling on stake during the lecture. What? I see others also openly discussing options trading in school. Like, what are we doing with our money? Why are we putting our tuition money, or even just your hard-earned savings, in the market like that? You are burning your money faster than you could if you just went to the mall. Why are you doing this? You are not special. You are not going to win the lottery. Honestly, what you need to do is just invest in assets that actually have documented returns, because again, it's not about instant hits of dopamine. It's about the long burn. It's about the long game. You need to invest in things like the S&P 500, where it's not a 1000% overnight, but it's a 10% gain year on year in the long run. Or if you're feeling riskier, I mean, I feel like Bitcoin is still fairly good if you have an otherwise balanced portfolio, but people who day trade on the crypto market, it's the same thing. You might as well throw your money in the fire. Alright, so I think that adequately covers why you should stop consuming. So now let's jump over to what you should start doing, and it's just building. And so you might think, okay, where do I start with this? Well, I actually have a very actionable step for you. If you're really seriously interested in boosting your life, then the very first thing you should do, if you haven't already done it, is start going to the gym. And I really don't care for any of the excuses that I've heard, like, I don't want other people seeing me, or I'm scared to embarrass myself in front of, the more fit people. Who the hell cares? People who say this need to understand that by saying this, you're basically admitting that you're a narcissist. Do you really think people care about you that much? Do you think they even notice you as you walk by? You are not the main character. But seriously, anyone who is physically capable of going for a walk, riding a bike, picking up a backpack on their way to school, these are the same people that can go to the gym. And it's not just being physically capable or building muscles. It's really not. It's for the mental assets that you build along the way. Things like discipline, work ethic, persistence, and patience for results. Because eventually you are going to start seeing progress. You are going to start seeing that the weights that you thought were heavy when you first started are actually really light. And then you'll be able to go up to a weight class that you could have never imagined before. And you can repeat this over and over again, going heavier and heavier with your weights, going longer and longer on the treadmill. And you will begin to level up physically. And you will become addicted to the success. And eventually, it's not going to be about dragging yourself to the gym. It's going to be about keeping yourself out of the gym on rest days because you just want to get back to it. You are going to become addicted to success. You are going to crave the reward of building yourself up. And these are the kind of mental assets that success is built on. So your goal is to become hooked on this. That's what the gym is for. And so once you've effectively established your workout as a pillar of your lifestyle, I want you to scale what is effectively the same principles. Look for a skill that makes money. I mean, it could be marketing, sales, software. I promise you, if you're good enough and you're persistent enough, you won't be beat by AI. And so start with the mental assets you've built in the gym. You just need to repeat the process from here. You pick what you want and you go at it. You start with the easy stuff, the baby steps, and you progressively work and build yourself up, whether that's through projects or work experience or putting yourself in the real world in situations where you can actually grow in your field of choice. And so, especially in software, start working on projects in areas that you like. You should really be always building a project on the side. That's what I do. Don't wait for school to give you soulless assignments. Give yourself assignments that you love. And I promise you, it won't even feel like work. Because, like I said, I'm currently building a software product that I plan to sell. And every time I work on it, I get the same feeling that I got from video games when I was a child. I see myself leveling up in real time, building something of value, doing something real with my life. Which leads me to the point of scaling these mental assets. Pushing further and further, developing yourself more and more until you can actually start to market yourself and reap the monetary rewards from it. Because again, you shouldn't give up if you don't make money right away. I mean, check out this YouTube channel. You can go back a few videos and I got 9, 12, 30 views per video But now look at my views. It was through persistence, not giving up when I didn't get good results, but by continuing until I got the results I wanted. And honestly, it's that simple. This is the algorithm to change your life. This is how I've had nearly a year of work experience in the technology industry by 20 years old. And this is how I've secured my current tech role. This is why I have several research jobs in the AI and machine learning sector that I get paid from. And ultimately, this is why I will win. So the question is, do you also want to win? If so, copy these steps and let me know how it goes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.